Hey there, I'm Michael Damon, and I'm introducing the world to starbeam.one. In this session, we talk about the publishing system. Let's begin. A quick overview of the topics I'll be discussing in this session. I kind of put the system in the publishing system here, didn't I? I first wanted to reconnect with this essay by Kevin Kelly, 1000 True Fans, that's found there in the QR code. It's an excellent essay. It's what I'm basing starbeam.one on, and as far as the publishing goal. And the essay mentions 1000 as a target, 1000 true fans, but it can be really any number you'd like, and I'm using that for starbeam.one, and I'm taking from that and deriving another number, 1111, and we'll see how that works. But it's also the same concept where it really can be any number that you like, so this is just a framework, just something to work from. Continuing on with the inspiration here, just going from 1000 true fans, that's more of a goal, right? That's a destination. And I started to think about that a little bit more. And, I just think about the time back when we actually sold physical things with media. We had CDs, we had cassettes, and VHSs, if you can go back that far, sort of thing. And, one thing that you would always hear about are these certifications, right? These certain levels that these artists reached. And so I started to think about that, you're like, what was a platinum recording artist? And that's kind of what got me down this road, and it's captured there in that QR code. For more information, that's what that table is as well. And it started to really pique my interest. I find it really compelling, right? It's this whole notion of graduation or accomplishment when you reach a certain level of selling a number of products, right? This is the publishing model. All right, so we've got this notion of a target of 1000 true fans, sort of thing, and then we've got this graduated system of certifications of reaching that goal, and that's what we're going to see how we're going to do that. But first, I want to bring in another old school flavor here, and hopefully you can see this theme of bringing the old school mentality and bringing it into a new school way, sort of thing. And that's kind of what the NFT space is sort of showing, and that's the excitement here, is that we can bring this in a centralized way as well. And we can see how that does because it's more efficient, just like a printing press, right? Printing presses were very efficient. And so what I'm wanting to accomplish here is to provide you as a creator with your own personal printing press. And how this works is with these product definitions, which act as the printing plates in your own personal printing press. And so this is kind of a cool concept, right? And you're able to assemble these plates in a certain way to produce your content, which is represented by the digital licenses that you will be selling on the marketplace. And so these definitions allow things just like regular properties, setting the name, setting a description, setting the price, things of that nature. And then you can also define the assets of your particular type. And from there, you have for the MVP, that is just an image or a song or a text file, or we can do what I'm wanting to do, which is illustrated text, which is a combination of a text file and an illustration, an image. So you can do that, and then to define your product definition. And finally, you've got your beneficiaries, right? And so we'll get into that when we talk about gratitude, the provable beneficiary system, in a later session. But these are people that you can specify to receive a certain percentage of your proceeds. Okay, so you have your personal printing press and you have your printing plates for your personal printing press, and from that you can produce inventory to publish out into the marketplace. And so how this works is this whole notion of managing issuances, right? And so an issuance can be made from a definition when it has never produced any inventory. So as soon as you create a definition, it is a candidate for new inventory. And then once you publish inventory from that definition, it cannot publish new inventory until all of the existing and current inventory has sold out, right? And then once it sells out, it becomes eligible to produce even more inventory. And that's how that works, is that there's this, just like a traditional printing press, you can produce more product from those printing plates as they sell out. And so that's sort of how that works. And you can, follow the same pattern of basically produce, waiting for it to sell out, and then produce more. Issuances, yes. So, this is kind of where the magic happens. We've got corporations, we talked about how corporations will issue stock, and that is basically just an arbitrary thing, intangible, can't touch, can't see, arbitrary number of quantity and price, right? And they're raising money. That's the reason why they do this. And we're kind of doing the same thing as creators. So we're taking the power of a corporation and making creators more like corporations. Only in our case, we are selling digital licenses and not stock, right? So we are just selling these digital licenses, and they assign powers to the rights of the holders that hold that license. And we'll get into that in a little bit. But kind of getting back to the inventory in the previous slide, the inventory is comprised of these issuances, and an issuance product, you'll hear me use those terms interchangeably. They just mean a collection of licenses, right? So you issue a product out into the marketplace. It's just a collection of licenses, and licenses I'll also call units. So like unit of sale sort of thing. It's a business term, and you'll hear me use that interchangeably just in case I say that. Hopefully that helps out with a little bit of context here. So when you use that personal printing press to create this issuance, what happens is the first thing is the licenses get created, and they are in the system, and they are forever, right? So they get created, and you can as a creator, you can disable them if you'd like, but if they've already sold, it's out there in the market. Just like we're taking the real world market and we are emulating that, right? It's just like that. We're making it a digital. So we follow that exactly. And so you have that management over it for like the inventory. Getting back to the inventory, we create those licenses, and we ascribe rights. And this is where the value is at, right? So as a creator, you ascribe rights to these licenses, and this is what the power it provides. For MVP, we only have 2 rights, and they're hard coded, right? And they have the ability, the holder has the ability to resell on a provided secondary market. That's the first one. The second one is access to content. So you can access the content that is represented by that license. And that leads us to our next step. So for each and every license that's part of an issuance, we go through and we generate a unique website that can only be accessed via that license. And so this is what we do. We generate that website and then upload it to Azure. So it's a fully hosted, fully managed, centralized solution, right? And we take care of all that. So with an NFT, there's a link that points to a resource, and that is fragile. It can break, right? You don't have control over that resource, and it can break, and then what can you do? So, but you don't have to worry about that here. We take care of everything for you. So it's fully managed, fully hosted, centralized solutions. So that's how that works. And then finally, we have this notion of a storefront. So this allows people to buy and purchase those licenses. And so kind of just, this is what happens when you publish each and every issuance, which is just a collection of licenses. And hopefully that gives you a little better idea of the publishing model we have here, right? This is kind of way different than anything you see in NFT. So that should provide a little bit more information. And we have this notion of grouping these licenses in waves, and we'll talk about that next here. Wave levels, right? So we just got done talking about issuances, and issuances are just a collection of licenses, right? And licenses is what we sell. And if you look closely at that collection of licenses, you will see that they are grouped in these wave levels. And wave level is a combination of Kevin Kelly's 1,000 True Fans and that certification system that I was talking about earlier. And that's what this system is. And I, kind of going back here, a quick note is that I almost called it a phase system because I was going for beam and transmission and magnitude, measuring magnitude, but I went with wave because of the human wave. Yes, wordplay. I am an aspiring writer after all, and I hope you're okay with that because there's more of that throughout starbeam.one if you look closely. And so kind of continuing here is that we've got this wave system. And what this means is that as a creator, when you create your account with starbeam.one, you are an A-wave creator. And what that means is that when you make an issuance, when you publish an issuance out into the marketplace, you can only publish one license. So that issuance can only have one license in it. And so what we look for is for you to be able to sell that license. We're looking for you to prove that you can sell that one license. And then when that happens, 2 things happen actually. You sell that first license. That means you sold your first license. That's a huge accomplishment, right? It's sort of like having that first dollar bill as a business and hanging that on your wall. And we're going to be looking at celebrating it as such in future versions. And so there's that. And then the second thing that happens is your quantity increases. So you now graduated to the next wave. And we're going to take the wave that you just graduated from and multiply its quantity by 10 and then add all the previous waves. So in this case, it's just the A wave. And we're going to take that that quantity, which is 1, multiply it by 10, and then add the A wave. So that's 1 multiplied by 10 plus 1, and that equals 11. And so now you have a max quantity for every issuance out in the marketplace of 11. And now we're looking for you to prove that you can sell those 11 per issuance. And the first issuance that has those 11 sold, congratulations, you are now a C wave creator. And we do the same thing, right? So we're going to take that B wave amount, which is 10, we're going to multiply that by 10, which is 100, and we're going to add all the other waves, which is 111 total licenses per issuance. And this is what happens. So now you need to prove that you can sell those 111. So this is the goal here. And once you do prove that, you now graduate to the D wave. So we're going to take that C wave 100, multiply that by 10, and then that's 1,000, add all the rest. And now we have 1,111. We're there, right? We've accomplished that 1,000 true fans. So this sort of provides a framework to reach that 1,000 in our own way of 1,111. Putting the 1 in starbeam.one too, huh? And so we have that, and that is how that works, and we can achieve our goals here. Quick note is that for the MVP, we can only reach a maximum of C, but of course, going forward in future versions, we'll go to D and beyond. All right, so we've got our quantity, our target quantity, right? It's sort of matching our target's true fan, right? And so now we can start using that system as a reference and building another system that you can use as a reference. You know, it doesn't you don't have to follow this dogmatically. It's just there to, you know, gain inspiration from. That's what this is all about. Being a creative, being an artist, it's about being inspired. And I was obviously inspired by 1,000 true fans, and I'm hoping to create a system here that you can be inspired to do your own, right? So this is just more of a reference. But now we can start doing things such as taking our salary, our target salary from 1,000 true fans, and derive a price point that we can charge for the products that we publish out into the marketplace. And so, Kevin Kelly kind of circles around 100,000. I am circling a little less than that, and it's based on the salary of happiness, which is seen in that QR code there. I was also born in 1976. I'm kind of proud of that. So my target salary is 76,000 per year, and that is what I have plugged into the first row. And so what we do is we do a little division here, and the first division we do is the number of weeks in the year, and then we further divide the result of that by the number of working hours in a week, and then we land at an hourly rate. And in my case, that hourly rate is $36.54, and this is what I need to make per hour to reach that 76,000. And so now we also know our target quantity, which was established in that previous slide, and that is 1,111. And so now what we do is we take that target hourly rate and divide it by our target quantity, and in my case that's $36.54 divided by 1,111. And what this lands on is a figure, right? This is a per unit hour figure. This means this is what I need to charge per unit per hour of work, and we'll get into an example of how this works in the next slide here. All right, I hope the math is not throwing everyone off here. It's just kind of just showing you there's a framework here to use, just to take just a general sense, and you can, use it as a reference. You don't have to follow this exactly, just like 1,000 True Fans. Just use it as a reference and just do your own thing, right? And sort of the important thing here is that this price that I'm going to be charging is what I would charge from the outset. I would be charging this starting from an A wave, right? Because I'm acting as if, using the law of attraction, that I'm going to reach that 1,111. So that's what I'm going to do. We'll see how far I get. You're free to charge whatever you like, but that's just sort of something I'm establishing here, kind of seeing how this works, because it's publishing, right? The focus is on higher quantity, lower prices, and this is exactly what this is about. So kind of a cool thing here is that we can now use that per unit hour as a signaling mechanism to our collectors and fans of how much time that we spent on a product, right? Because it's a per unit hour. That is what we should be charging per unit per hour of work. So if I was to produce a product out into the marketplace, and if I'm publishing it and I'm charging $1.976, getting back to 1976, per unit, and we could take my 0.033 per unit hour and then divide the price by that. And you can get a sense that I spent about 60 hours on that product. And that's kind of how that works. It's sort of a way of telling your fans how much you worked on a product, sort of thing. Of course, this is just, throwing that out there. We'll see how that works. But, you can, again, just charge whatever you like and whatever feels right for you as well. Wow, I feel like I just ran a marathon, and hopefully you can see there is a system in place here with a publishing system, taking old school concepts and bringing them into the new school kind of thing, and focuses on publishing, right? This is a higher quantity, lower prices. Hopefully, I was able to demonstrate that, and this is sort of the direction that we have going here, and so that completes our publishing system. We can now move on to the identity system. See you there.